Hey guys, Alan from V Expressions here. Today we're going to talk about Arsenal for the TD-50X. Let's jump right in. So I'm going to be going through the manual as my bullet points, if you will. If you want to follow along, you can go over to the website real quick. I'll leave a link in the description. You can open up the manual in another tab and follow along with me. However, I'm not going to read you the introduction or description. I'm going to actually go deeper than the introduction or description. But we will be looking at the kit listing, and you might want to look at that while I'm talking about it. So let's talk about where I started with this pack. Obviously, I always try to answer feedback, opinions, requests, and over the years, I've gotten requests for certain things. So in this pack, like I try to do with the first pack for every module, is I try to meet the needs of the most people that I can. I think this one goes further than I have ever gone before, where I am also going to meet the needs of people who like the dry kits. Pardon me. So let's talk about where the pack starts. When I started designing the pack, the first thing I did was I focused on instruments. I wanted realistic acoustic instruments. Start there. Try to do 25 snares, try to do 25 bass drums, try to do 25 tom sets, etc. So I would say that I probably got 20 to 25 snares. I say 20 to 25 because some snares I do use in a different manner, maybe different tuning, different shell depth, different heads, or what have you. Same thing for bass drums, probably around 15 to 20-ish bass drums, same thing for the same reasons. Sometimes I'll change a sub-layer and to give it a different voice altogether, different sustain, different decay, what have you. Toms, probably a little less than the toms, probably 15 to 20 tom sets, but the same thing because I had toms that I thought, okay, those are very realistic, those are great, those really fill a lot of voids, but I need to I need some clear heads on one set, maybe some coated heads on another set. And I'm not talking about me just changing clear or coated. I'm actually talking about changing this with the modeling of the shell depth, the muffling, the EQ, a lot of different things, not just simply changing the type of head. So again, probably 15 plus types of tom kits. When it comes to the cymbals, however, I always do the Zildjian Custom A Brilliance that I'm used to. I always do those first. So a lot of the cymbals across the initial 75 kits are going to be similar. They're going to be along the lines of the Zildjian A Custom Brilliance. However, pay attention because there are some that are changed. There will be some cymbal crashes that I change the sub-layer to give it a little bit more body, or I change the tuning altogether. Some splashes on auxiliary 1 and 2 may be thinner or higher pitched or lower pitched or more body in them. Some Chinas may change. I didn't change a lot of Chinas. Those are mainly going to be in the cymbal packs that we'll talk about later. But there are some various China voices, whether they be higher pitch, lower pitch, harsher or softer. And probably where I did change some things were in the ride, particular in the muffling of the bow to bring some wash down. Raising or lowering the bell, making it a little bit more prominent in heavier kits, stuff like that. So if you come across cymbals in the initial 75, keep in mind that those may be one-offs, that they may be special and not be in a cymbal pack. You may not find them down there. We'll talk about the cymbal packs in a few moments. So the first 25 kits, they're dry acoustics. When I say dry, let me go ahead and talk about what the main differences between each set of kits will be, if I may say it like that. So there's dry kits, there's natural kits, there's wet kits, and then I have some artist kits and some style kits at the end, which are basically more artist kits. The dry kits, in all these things, there's basically changes in the ambience, which is your room and overheads. There's changes in reverb, and there's changes in your master compression. So what do you think a dry kit is? It's an acoustic kit. It's going to be in a booth or a room, very small, not a lot of ambience, no reverb on the snare. I'll talk about reverb real quick because I'm using it as a tool in this pack, The reverb is only used on the snare. I think I may have used it on some toms randomly, but it's very, very light and very rare. But it's mainly used on the snare and only in the natural and the wet kits. It's blended in with your parallel compression and your ambience for your room. But it is not used on the dry kits whatsoever. That is your Multi-Effects 1. Multi-Effects 2, you probably should just leave it alone and ignore it. I'm using it to add some dimensional slapback in the environment for the hi-hat and the ride. For some reason, when I was putting rides and hi-hats together, they sounded very mono no matter where I placed them. I wasn't getting any, like I said, ambient reflections that I should get from this side over here and from that side over there, this being your ride, that being your hi-hat. So I used a multi-effect reverb, very short decay, a sustain, and it's kind of like a slapback almost. I didn't like the delays. I tried the delays, but I liked the reverb, but just really shortened. And so what it does is now I can move that hi-hat over here, but I feel like it's still in a room of some sort, and vice versa with the ride. So Multi-Effects 2, you probably want to leave alone. If you're the type of person that doesn't want any reverb at all in, say, the natural kit, you can just go to your Multi-Effects and turn off Multi-Effects 1. The knob on the left, you can scroll to your left till you get to the top, Multi-Effects 1, and then just turn it off. Vice versa, if you want it on in the dry kits, you can go there and turn it on. So that's enough about the reverb, because the reverb is really not something you need to focus on in this pack whatsoever. Now let's get into the differences of the ambience and the master compressor. Let's talk about the master compressor because it's pretty simple. Dry kits, when I am bringing a threshold down to get a small gain reduction to make the kit a little bit more realistic and bring out your dynamics in your lower end a little bit so that it sounds natural, sounds real. I am lowering the threshold a little bit. I am keeping the ratio in the compressor very low, I think 2 to 1. And then there's pretty much no volume gain adjustment needed. You can learn what I'm talking about by looking at the master compressor for the dry kits, natural kits, wet kits, and artist kits, and style kits. More importantly, the style kits, because they're kind of consistent. What these are levels of production. So think of the dry kits as your instrument. Think of the natural kits as, now I'm in a studio, a little bit larger room, like a warm wooden room. You're getting some slapback ambience off the walls, but you're also hearing your direct mics going through preamps into a board, but no more processing past that. So it's natural, but now it's got a little bit of body to it. It's got a little bit of punch to it. The wet kits are that next step. By the way, the natural to me would be, so I said your dry would be your instrument. Your natural would be your instrument mixed, first stage. And then your wet kits are going to be that kit mixed to like a drum bus level. What I mean by drum bus is where now we've mixed our instruments through separate channels. Now, pardon me, all those channels are now being sent to a drum bus, and you're doing a little bit of master EQ, master compression on it. If you look at these different master compressor settings that I've done, you're going to see I squash a little bit more as we go towards the end of the pack. So what that's going to do is give you a very, very wide variety of options when it comes to processing. So again, dry, you're basically next to no master compression. Your ambience is very, very small, subtle, almost can't hear it. It's almost like just the drum set itself ringing inside of a small room, similar to this. And then your natural would be, now I've taken that set and I've put it into a live room in a studio. I'm getting more ambience and I'm upping the compression just a little bit. That's kind of making it sound like preamps, miking in a studio and into a console. It's still natural. No over compressed stuff going on yet. Then you get to the wet kits, and now you're pushing that to the drum bus level, where now you've actually gone in, you've EQ'd, you've compressed your instruments, you now sent them to a drum bus, and you're EQing and compressing them there as well. You're going to hear now that these kits and the wet kits can now push you into the heavier music. And you now, because of the dynamics range is closing up, you're now being able to push more of the lower dynamics through that music. And then that brings you to the artist and the style kits, which means I've basically taken the wet kits and pushed them to the next level and started to rebalance my dry versus wet parallel compression while crushing it a little bit more. So now you sound like you're actually at the mastered or the 2-bus or mix bus or the mastering stage where you're starting to blend with music. So that will make sense to you if you stop right now and you go and play each of those kits and hear how it progresses up to that mastered level. So for each kit, there's 25 kits. For each kit, there is a dry, a natural, and a wet. Then you'll have the 5 artist kits that I've done for you in advance to show you what you can build from these 75. I've pushed the master compressor in that part. And then there's 5 style kits, which, like I said, are basically artist kits. They're just no-name artist kits. They're more like modern production kits that you can clone and just copy in the instruments you want if that's your taste and style. So let's get past this introduction because I've pretty much covered that. And I'm going to go through the kits, and that'll bring me to the cymbal packs, the artist, and the style, and I'll go through those descriptions real quick with you. I'm not going to read the descriptions of the kits, but what I want to tell you is I started to do 25 dry, 25 natural, and then 25 wet. But then I realized, well, if you find a natural kit you like, but you really need to dry it up and you want to go down there, you got to go find 25 kits away. So I felt it was easier to do it in families. So the first kit there, atomic, you've got atomic dry, atomic natural, and atomic wet. So if you like that kit and you want to play it with a song, then you can pick the wetness that you want. You want it dry, or you want it wet, natural, you want it wet. And then I'm going to show you in our next video how you can quickly go into your ambience and you can control your brightness or warmth with your overhead, and you can control the ambience with the room up and down. Now, one may think that, well, you're just recreating the natural kit. If you take the dry kit and you increase the room or whatever, you're just going to get the natural kit. Not whatsoever. You're going to actually, with all 3 of those kits, by using these 2 knobs alone, you're going to get completely different achieved results with all 3 kits. That's why I said somewhere that basically, although you have 75 kits right there, you easily have 3 times that much, because you can take your dry kit, you can change your detail up or down, you can change your room up or down. That right there is endless. And then you go to your natural kit and you can do the same thing. And you go to your wet kit and you can do the same thing. For that matter, when you get down to the artist and the style kits, you can do the same thing. So that's how the first 25 work, which actually expands into 75 when you're talking about dry, natural, wet, dry, natural, wet. So you basically find the kit you like, find the wetness, if you will, of what you like, and then you can tweak from there. I always suggest just clone the kit and adjust that one. And then if you just want to live with it that way, go back or copy it back into that slot, and then you'll have it forever the way you want. So let's move on to the cymbal packs. It's very simple. The descriptions are right here, but I wanted to just go over them. The cymbal kit 1 is the bright cymbal pack. It is, by the way, the kit in these 6 kits is just a very basic default kit. The bright kit number 1 is the Zildjian Custom A Brilliant kit. That's basically my voices that I like to use. The second, third, and fourth kit, which is our classic, vintage, and trashy, that is, they're fuller bodied and they kind of have timelines. So the classic ones are kind of like the harsher cymbals that you heard in the early, mid, late 80s, really, more than anything. The vintage are basically, I would say, 60s, 70s-ish. Both of these so far have a fuller body to them. They're thicker sounding. And then the third one, which is trashy, which is kit 4, by the way. The trashy ones, basically kind of a blend of the classic and vintage, but it's a thinner, cheaper type of sound. So think of when you first started playing and you bought cheap cymbals, that's what it sounds like. Finally, the fifth one, or not finally, but the fifth one is our signature series. That's the pasties, obviously. They're more brittle, higher pitched. It's the standard pasty sound. And then finally, the last one is I did a set of stack cymbals. It's basically 3 families of stacks, high and low pitched. The first set, which is my auxiliary 1 and 2, is a short decay, small stack. The Crash 1 and 2 is a larger stack set that's a little bit more decay, a little bit more sustain. I can't remember if the auxiliary 3 and 4 are shorter than these. It doesn't matter. They're all 3 different voices, 3 different stacks, and there's a high pitch and a low pitch for each. Which brings us to our artist kits and our style kits. You can read it right here. I did Jeff Picard from 1982. It's a very old school studio kit. Carter Buford from 1992, which is, again, kind of an old school kit now, but it's early Dave Matthews. Gavin Harrison, unfortunately, I didn't have a good drum list to play with that, but it is the kit from, I have a hard time saying this word, anesthetized, whatever it is. I think I nailed that one really, really well. It's just the sad part is there's no good drum list that you can play that with. And then I did a Simon Phillips kit because I wanted a nice, airy, brittle type of kit. Simon Phillips always loves this big, open type of room sound. So I did that. It's kind of really focusing on his toms, more that Bubinga type of sound, which I think it came from the tubby toms up earlier in the pack. It's just kind of a middle-of-the-road Simon Phillips kit. And then I did an early Neil Peart kit. I think it was Farewell to Kings era, 1980, whatever the one was that came out in 1980. So it's the deeper tom set. It's more of the old school Neil Peart sound, deeper tom set, not the super old school Rush, but kind of the older midlife Rush, if you will. And then finally, the style kits there at the end are basically just very modern, nicely compressed. It just goes with modern, anything from country to rock to progressive stuff. I've even got a reggae one there. I'll read them real quick. The Dead Alive is a very detailed, mainstream kind of pop rock. It will fit a lot of stuff. I played it with a country tune, and then I realized I wanted to play the second one with a country tune because I like the toms in the second style kit that are just different. It's the tubby toms that I really liked, but they fit with some country really well. So those two are not country kits. The first one is actually a mainstream, just a mainstream kit. It fits a lot of things. The tubby is more of in my opinion, is more of a country kit. The Proggy 82 is actually Dream Theater from 1982. It's an old school progressive kit. Hella Gayish is from Hella Good. It's a reggae kit, and I can't think of their name at the moment, with Gwen Stefani. And then Harley Tight is just a really nice, tight, detailed kind of, it's kind of a mainstream kit, but it's kind of a tighter version. I want to say warm or mellow, but only in its EQ, if you will. It's got some crack to it. These 5 kits, what was I going to say? These 5 kits they're not really supposed to be what I've named them, but they can do a lot of different things. I mainly put these 5 here so that you have the master compressor to analyze and see how I rebalance the dry versus wet while crushing using the threshold to crush down the dynamic range, which in turn, when you increase the ratio, bring down your threshold, and you're now dialing up your wet compression, down your dry kit. You see, I will have also added some gain compensation there as well. So when you go through the dry, natural, wet, and especially the style kits, you'll see the progression of compression and how you'll be able to use those to your advantage. I've made this video so long, but I have covered everything for now. The next video, I want to get out of this video, but the next video is going to be showing you how to do everything I just said, how you'll be able to edit, create your own kits, and probably make at least 3 times as many just from this one pack alone. And then I am going to do some artist kits after that. If you want to put down in the comments some of your opinions of what I should try to do, I do want to do, in the first video, the how to use video. I have an artist in mind for that one. But if you want to put some recommendations for artists down there, I will consider. I'm going to do probably about 3 after that. So give me kind of a flavored variety there. I'll pick a few. I have a couple in my mind already, but I'll pick a few and we'll create some artist kits together. So for those of you who wanted Generations, which I never do an artist pack right up front, but those of you that wanted Generations, I'm going to show you how to create it yourself. I'm going to get out of here for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for considering the pack. Come visit us on the web at VExpressions Ltd.com. Come visit us over at VDrums.com. And if you're on Facebook, look for our owners group over there. Lots of video sharing and lots of ideas sharing going on there. I'm going to get out of here. I'll talk to you later. Bye.